The air in the briefing room of the Void Skimmer was thick with the sterile scent of ozone and the low hum of cooling fans. Lieutenant Kalen Voss stood before a flickering holographic map of Calder 4, his primary crest feathers smoothed flat in a gesture of extreme, forced patience. He wasn't alone. His team, the finest extraction and scouting unit in the sector, was already there, radiating a collective aura of let's get this over with. Calder 4 is a graveyard, Voss began, his voice clipping each word like a talon. The Tagoran used the northern basalt ridges as a heavy ordnance hub. Our sources say that they have left, but we all know that means that they have left surprises, and that's we come in. It is high risk, high toxic, and high precision. Sergeant Thrum grunted, his 4 massive arms crossed over his slate-gray chest. Precision is what we do. Just like the previous 57 successful missions, sir. But why do I think that this one is different? His sergeant knew him well. Voss closed his secondary eyelids for a long second, then cleared his throat. That brings us to the tactical addition. By order of the Galactic Council, we are being joined by a specialist attachment from the newest member species, the humans. A team from the K-9 Defense Force. Corporal Miller, and he consulted his notes. Buster. Dr. Sura's tentacles rippled in a wave of agitated neon blue. The humans? Lieutenant, I've read the biology reports. They are persistence hunters with mid-tier sensory arrays. Why are they being forced into a Tier 1 scout mission? Apparently, they are concerned that the Tagoran might have developed some new tech and feel Buster will be useful in aiding us. The punishment theory. Zill, the tech specialist, didn't even look up from their wrist-mounted HUD, but their multiple eyes blinked in a rapid, mocking sequence. They're punishing us, aren't they, sir? Zill asked, their voice a digitized rasp. Did we offend a council minister? Did Thrum break another diplomat's hand during a friendly grip test? Because sending a pair of humans into a stealth op feels like we're being demoted to the circus. It's not a punishment, Zill. It's a photo op, Voss sighed, his crest flickering despite his best efforts. The council wants to show interspecies synergy. We are the most decorated team in the fleet, which makes us the perfect backdrop for a human PR campaign. Babysitting, Thrum growled, the word sounding like grinding stones. We're babysitting 2 primates while we're in a live Tagoran warzone. Precisely, Voss replied. We keep them in the middle of the formation. We don't let them wander off, and we don't let them touch anything sensitive. We do the job, we let them take their pictures, and we get back to real soldiering. Any questions? So is this Buster some serious tech? Perhaps an AI robot? Voss sighed. I think the humans think it is serious tech. So, please do not laugh when we see it in action. That's an order. Yes, sir, everyone says in unison resignedly. The arrival. The pneumatic hiss of the briefing room door cut through the tension. A human in matte black tactical gear stepped in. He wasn't as tall as Voss or as wide as Thrum, but he moved with a strange, liquid economy of motion. Beside him, tethered by a short lead, was a barrel-chested 4-legged creature with fur the color of dried blood and eyes that seemed to be scanning the room with more intelligence than any of them were comfortable with. Voss presumed that it was some kind of ceremonial mascot to establish dominance. The creature sat, looked directly at Lieutenant Voss, and watched. Corporal Miller and Buster, reporting for duty, the human said, his voice easy and dangerously calm. Voss looked beyond Miller at the entrance. And where is Buster? Miller was a little confused and pointed to the dog. This is Buster, the quadruped. He struggled with the concept. Quadruped. Miller looked confused. Oh, yes, I suppose. We call them dogs. What does this dog do? Miller straightened with pride. He has been successful in 236 operations. He specializes in search and rescue and search and neutralize missions just like this 1-inch. Voss was trying very hard not to explode at the injustice, and he could tell the others behind him were desperately trying not to laugh, but the occasional giggle escaped. Welcome to the team, Corporal Miller and Buster. Please take position in the middle. Permission to speak, sir, said Corporal Miller. Permission granted. Well, Me and Buster normally take point, sir. Point. Yes, sir. At least 5 meters in front of everyone else. Sergeant Thrum spoke up. Why at least 5 meters? So Buster is not distracted by your sense, Sergeant. Everyone stopped laughing. Are you suggesting we smell, Corporal Miller? We all smell, Sarge. Otherwise Buster couldn't do his job. Voss had to regain control. And what do I smell of, Corporal? Well, my nose isn't as good as Buster's, but I can smell the oil you used on your crest and that. Oh. You did not spend the evening alone. And what do I smell like? Asked Sergeant Thrum. Buster, inquired Miller. He looked at the dog. Buster looked at Thrum, then to Miller, and then back to Thrum. Buster can smell that you spent the evening with 2 companions. The dog snorted. Sorry, 3 companions. Thrum looked utterly shocked for a moment, and Voss wondered if he was going to have to block him from going for the human. But then he laughed, not a polite laugh. A throw your head back and hold your abdomen laughed, guilty as charged. Well, we mustn't offend Buster's nose. You can take point. Thank you, sir. Take your position. Yes, sir. When Miller was out of earshot, Voss looked at Thrum. Thrum spoke. Well, he could have worked out that you had company last night because of your mating scar. But me? That's interesting, that's one word for it. Then he paused and pretended to be shocked. 3 companions. Thrum shrugged and grinned. They had a 3 for 2 offer. It would have been rude not to take it. Voss shook his head and tried to stifle a smile. Let's get moving. The scouting party moved along a pathway through the dense, purple undergrowth of the planet Krell. They were perfect scouts, equipped with multispectrum visors, motion sensors, and seismic dampeners. And Corporal Miller and Buster walked ahead. Walked as if it were a casual stroll rather than a dangerous mission. Miller seemed to be more interested in the plants on the side of the pathway. Sura leaned into Zil. So is he augmented? Zil scanned them. No. Not him. Not the dog. In fact, the only thing electronic on him is a stun pistol. His rifle is kinetic. He has 2 knives and a multitool of some type. Even his binoculars are analog. He is a tech desert. Sura went back to his task. And they were quiet for a time. He's going to step on a mine, isn't he? Sighed Zil. He's going to step on a mine and ruin our perfect record, chimed in Sura. And we are going to be buried in paperwork for months. Add Thrum. And official apologies to the humans for hurting their quadruped, said Zil. Well, Thrum is well versed in official apologies, especially after the last incident. They started to laugh. Voss cut in. Keep it tight. Remember, we are professionals. Yes, sir. Sura. Sir. What do you think of our guests? They concern me, sir. How so? The last time I saw someone walk like that was my grandfather. Your grandfather? Thrum chimed in, as in Mr. Legendary Tracker himself. Yes. It is a mystery. Voss nods, trying to process this information. And this pathway? It was made by something big coming this way many times. But there is trace of the Tagoran by the side of the road, especially at the places where Miller moved the plants to get a better view. Thank you. As you were. Yes, sir. Voss looked at Thrum. Well, the good news is that he might not step on a mine. Suddenly, Buster stopped. Miller signaled the rest of the party to halt. He didn't check his HUD. He didn't look at his motion tracker. He looked at the dog. Buster didn't growl. He didn't bark. He simply went rigid. His ears rotated forward like satellite dishes, and his tail, which had been a rhythmic blur of motion, became a frozen spike. What's wrong, buddy? Miller whispered. Buster didn't look at Miller. He stared at a patch of seemingly empty air between 2 crystalline pillars 50 meters ahead. He shifted his weight, a low, vibration-like huff escaping his chest. Miller reached down, patting the dog's head with a gloved hand. Good boy. Stay. Then, came back to the main party trap ahead. 50 meters, dead center between the pillars. Zil checked his HUD. Negative, Corporal. Scanners are clear. No thermal signatures. No gravitational anomalies. No movement. Voss took out his binoculars. He zoomed in on the area. Nothing out of the ordinary. Perhaps the dog malfunctioned. If Buster says there's a trap, sir. Voss sighed. Deploy drone. The drone drifted between the pillars, scanning with high-intensity lasers. 5 meters in, the drone suddenly vanished. Not exploded, vanished. The team all went into defensive crouches. Zil, speak to me. My best guess is that it is a microsingularity, perfectly silent and invisible to electronic sensors. Very theoretical, which is why we cannot detect it. Voss sensors finally picking up the collapsing edge of the trap now that it had been triggered. Our technology is optimized for every known cloaking frequency. So how did we miss it? That trap was phase-shifted. It had no electronic footprint. He looked at Miller. How? It's just an educated guess, Miller said, but Buster didn't smell the trap. He smelled the absence of the environment. He smelled the ozone of the singularity's containment field, and he felt the way the wind didn't move through those pillars. And when your hunting absence is as important as presence. That sounds like a very good educated guess, Sura offered. Voss looked at the dog. Buster was no longer alert. He had sat down and was currently licking his paw, perfectly calm, waiting for Miller's next move. He told you this? Vyrn asked, his voice laced with a new kind of dread. With a look. We've worked together a long time, sir. Voss looked at the human and his dog. He realized that Miller wasn't just a soldier. He was a multi-core processor. He had taken a predator from a completely different evolutionary path and installed it into his own tactical awareness. Are we safe to proceed, Corporal? Just waiting for your order, sir. Then proceed. As soon as Miller moved, the dog immediately got up and walked by his side, like nothing had just happened. Voss looked at Zil. If we had walked into that trap, the blast radius was enough to take all of us out, sir. I see. Thank you. As you were. Voss looked at Thrum. He paused and said absence is as important as presence. Apparently. 3 hours later, the team was deep in the obsidian canyons. Then, near a choke point in the formation, Buster stopped. The entire team froze instantly. They didn't wait for Miller's signal. 4 heavily armored, biologically perfect alien warriors dropped into defensive crouches, weapons leveled, eyes darting. He didn't just stop, he sat a day. He didn't look ahead this time. He looked up, his head tilting at a sharp angle, his nostrils twitching in a rapid, rhythmic pulse. What is he saying now? Voss whispered, his voice hushed with the kind of reverence one usually reserved for a high oracle. Miller looked at Buster. The dog huffed, then nudged Miller's hand with his wet nose before looking back at the canyon wall above them. Miller nodded once towards the party and both human and dog crossed the distance to the rest of them. His saying we're being hunted, Miller's voice low. But not by anything mechanical. He says it's organic and it's hungry. Vyrn looked up at the sheer, vertical obsidian. His sensors showed nothing but cold stone. My thermal imaging is dead, Corporal. How can he be sure? There is no movement. He's not looking for movement, Commander, Miller said, checking his rifle. He's smelling the adrenaline of a predator waiting for an ambush. He's feeling the vibration of a heart beating against the rock. He's telling me the hardware above us is waiting for us to pass underneath. Voss, and he told you all that with a nudge. Miller shrugged. It was the right nudge. He seemed to think that explained everything. Voss looked to Thrum, who also shrugged and said it was the right nudge. Voss watched as Rex suddenly let out a sharp woof and bolted 2 steps forward, barking at a specific crevice in the rocks. Contact! Voss roared, his team opening fire on the exact spot Rex had flagged. A moment later, a massive, camouflaged rockstalker, a predator that had evolved for millions of years to be invisible to every spectrum of light, tumbled from the ledge, angry because the blasters just irritated it. Its shape was just a suggestion against the rocks except for its eyes, those red eyes seething with hate and purpose. It moved slowly, thinking that they were defenseless, savoring the moment. Miller raised his rifle and slowed his breathing. Then crack, he shot the rockstalker right in the eye. It leapt back in shock and pain and was dead before it hit the ground. Then he and Buster went to check the body. Buster sniffed the rockstalker's mouth and claws. Then barked. Target hostiles detected, sir, reported Miller. Don't tell me. It was the right bark. You're catching on, sir. Sura. He moved forward, did a visual inspect and confirmed it with his sensors. Traces confirmed, sir. Blood and flesh and recent too. Would you like my guess, sir? Proceed. My guess is that somewhere ahead, the last Tagarans were laying another trap and met our friend here. Zil. Already on it, sir. The drone sped down the gap. Sure enough, about a kilometer ahead were the remains of 3 Tagoran ambushes and an inactivated microsingularity trap. Thrum stepped forward. It's going to be dark soon. Agreed. Set up camp. As night fell, the team sat around a fire. It got cold quickly. Where's Buster? Asked Thrum. Oh, he's out checking the perimeter. He can't settle until he is sure it is safe. Corporal Miller Voss spoke. Sir. Explain this to me. Your dog was able to detect an undetectable new tech and an undetectable ancient animal. How? Well, sir, in Buster's world, it is simple. A threat is a threat is a threat. It doesn't matter if the threat is hot out of a research lab or as old of time. It is still a threat. We could have been killed today, said Zil. Twice, said Sura. Just doing our jobs, Miller said matter-of-factly. Thrum was thinking these search and rescue missions. What are they? Oh, when a disaster happens, earthquake, fire, flood, bombs, me and Buster go in to find survivors. It is much more dangerous than the search and neutralize missions. More dangerous? Sure. Well, in earthquakes, there are broken gas pipes which could explode at any moment. Electrical cables arcing, making the wrong contact lethal, and undeclared harmful chemicals that people forget to declare that have numerous problems. And, of course, the buildings are unsafe and can collapse if you look at them wrong, and secondary earthquakes without warning. Nature is a lot nastier and more creative than the Tagoran. At least here, we only have one source of threat to worry about. So what makes them more dangerous than war zones? No warning. You see a fighter swooping down or a tank on the ground. You know where the trouble is coming from and what kind of trouble it is. In a disaster zone, everything just happens. That wall is standing firm and then it just collapses and you could be under it. And how many search and rescue missions have you carried out? About half of them, give or take. 0 and 9 in active war zones, helping civilians get to safety. Half of 236. More dangerous than this. That made their 58 feel a little small. And 9 active war zones. That was 2 more than them. They all sat there quiet as they all realized how badly they had misjudged these Terrans. Then Buster returned and patted his neck and chest and scratched his ear. Then gave him a bowl of food and started chomping on it. Perimeter is clear, sir. That dog sure is talkative, observed Thrum. Miller laughed. Oh, you should see him with my 2-year-old Betsy. I don't know who makes the most noise. You allow that predator into your home, around your child. Sure. We're a team and that makes him family. And he is great with Betsy. He couldn't treat her better if she was his own pup. So what is the effective life of a dog? Asked Zil as if he were asking about the spec on a new piece of hardware. Well, a dog has a lifespan of 15 years. We take 3 to train them, then we have 10 guaranteed years. Then they retire and become house pets and get walks, belly rubs and treats until they die. That sounds like the kind of life any soldier would want once active duty finishes, said Thrum. They all nodded. Not the 3 companions, Sergeant. Thrum let out a laugh and slapped Miller squarely on the back, almost pushing him into the campfire. I like this one. It would appear that we have been developing the wrong tech, sir, said Thrum. Voss shook his head. He had been thinking the same. This mission had not gone as expected. They were the best scout team and they had been outclassed by a biological sensor array on 4 legs who wagged a tail. We spent eons perfecting our technology, yet we are subservient to the nose of a creature that licks its own fur. Well, it was just easier, sir. Evolution had done all the prototyping for us. It would be rude not to take up the offer. Everyone could see the irony. Then Voss' chronometer pinged. He sighed. Zil. Yes, sir. Time to send a report to command. Inform them of the area cleared and alert them about the microsingularity bomb and Rockstalker. Yes, sir. And Zil. Yes, sir. Commend Miller and Buster for their part in the mission. Tell command that they have been invaluable and thank Earth for sending them to us. Yes, sir. That's very kind of you, sir, said Miller. Voss leaned back and looked at his team. You saved our lives twice. I think that deserves a little commendation, don't you? Just doing our jobs, sir. Everyone chimed in mockingly and they all laughed and threw bits of food at Miller. Voss looked around at his team. Miller. Yes, sir. How do you feel about sticking around after this mission and you and Buster becoming part of the team? I think that sounds fun, sir. Don't you think, buddy? Buster wagged his tail. Welcome aboard. Thrum hit him square in the back. It almost flattened him. Mission 58 is shaping up to be another perfect score. The final entry, Log 9 Omega. Observer, Commander Voss. Subject, redefinition of the species Homo sapiens. The Galactic Council has made a tactical error in its classification of the Terran forces. We have classified them as bipeds with low-grade biological weapons. We were looking at the hardware and finding it wanting. We were wrong. A human is not the individual biped. The biped is merely the command console. The true organism is a terrifying, multispecies superorganism, linked by an invisible software called empathy. They have spent 40,000 years installing other species into their collective. They have the eyes of the raptor. They have the nose of the canid. They have the strength of the equine. They have the fire of the stars. When you fight a human, you are not fighting an ape. You are fighting every creature they have ever looked at and decided to love. You are fighting a hive mind of disparate biologies all running on a single, human-coded operating system. Human is not a biological category. It is a system architecture.